most happy and long-living people had one thing. Stress response is a life-saving response. But now we are comparing with 8 billion people. My brain detoxify itself, repair itself, heal itself. Fundamentally, we are not limited beings. It is another evolutionary step. Humanity's future is not dark.
Welcome to Soma, the art and science of somatic living, a podcast exploring life through the intelligence of the body. Dr. Jivasu, what happens in our body when we're experiencing stress?
Right. I think, first of all, let's define clearly what is stress. Stress we experience when we feel threat to our physical or emotional well-being. So there is a fear that something dangerous is happening. And stress response is a life-saving response. Because thinking of past many centuries or thousands of years ago, when we lived like animals, in caves, scarcity of food, natural disaster. So evolution built this mechanism in our body to deal with those emergencies. Some predator attacked, some natural disaster happened. So body and brain have this fight, flight, and freeze response. So if we could fight some animal or even other human beings who were invading, we will fight. If we feel we cannot deal with it, then we will like to flee. Or if both options are exhausted, we will simply freeze, which is a very peaceful state. So stress is an emergency response of body and brain to deal with threats to our well-being. So it's a fear response.
That seems like it's very in the moment thing.
Exactly. You said it so beautifully, because all our focus comes in this moment because we have to deal with this mega problem, which is life-threatening.
Stress seems to accumulate in our body, though.
It will, if it is chronic. So first of all, we cleared out that is what stress is, and we share it with on animals. So that is number one.
Animals are experiencing this the same way we do.
Same we do. But also, we are experiencing it differently. I will come to that.
Right.
That is where we store stress, actually. So, stress is always not negative. It is positive also. In some circumstances, it is called Eustress. So, if I want to achieve something, I have to work hard. I have to go through some test, examination. What I experience is stress. So I appeared in my MD pediatrics examination. It was highly stressful. But that was absolutely essential, and I got my degree. Or if I want to speak in front of 500 people, there will be slight stress, because I want to deliver a very coherent and meaningful lecture or speech or give a talk. Or I am going in front of camera as an actor, as actually Meryl Streep talked about it. She is a multiple Oscar winner actor, Hollywood actress. And she said each time she goes in front of the camera, she feels stressed, anxious. So that is positive. Without positive stress, we cannot bring out the best in us. But we are not going in details of that. Here we are talking the stress which is not positive. Acute stress is wonderful. We want to deal with the situation, whatever happened, and then it is over. The question which you asked actually about the chronic stress. When we store stress, and it is quite, not completely unique, but quite unique to humans. Why? Animals live in their bodies and brain, in their biology. But where do we live? In our mind. Because our brain has a very special prefrontal cortex, this surface layer. And this surface layer helps us building our story. In neuroscience, it's called autobiographical self. My story. My story means whatever happened to me in the past, whatever happening now, and whatever may happen in the future, so I'm sort of anticipating or guessing. So now you can imagine that a person like me or any human being, they are carrying memories, emotional memories of all that which happened, both positive and negative. But the thing about human mind is, it doesn't remember so much of positive, it remembers more negative. Means stress. Why so? If you go into fundamental biological emotions in human being, there are 6. Fear, anger, sadness, happiness, surprise, disgust. 4.5 emotions are negative. Why? Because they help us in survival. So that is why in the past, lot of people, they remember a lot of negative. So we have that stress. And also, we are constantly thinking of future, expecting, dreaming, planning, and that brings its own stress. Suppose if I fail, I'm investing so much, it may not materialize as abundance. I may lose it all. Or I'm marrying, what will happen to the future? I have children, what I should do. So all that future also accumulated. And so a lot of our stress actually are not physical in comparison of animals. So another example, modern life. In modern life, what happens? Most stresses are not physical. For example, in rich countries, we are safe. We don't have predators. We have enough water, food, transportation, future security. But the problem is, we have deadlines, psychological deadlines. I have to achieve this much in 1 year. I have to achieve this much. Or my boss is saying, or my company is asking in corporate world. So what happens? That becomes stress. So in humans, physical stress is transferred to mental stress. And another thing, we are living in a globalized society. So I'm carrying the world in my cell phone. I'm getting news from 200 countries. Whatever is happening there, there may be war, there may be a famine, there may be slaughter, there may be displacement, there will be natural disaster. I'm getting 24 hours news. What will happen? Stress.
Or even with that, you're just constantly bombarded about what these people are doing, and it almost feels like you're not doing enough.
That's right. Because you are comparing yourself. Mm-hmm. Your expectations are so high. Before that, we were very limited in a village or a town, in a city, so we were comparing with few people. But now we are comparing with 8 billion people. So no matter what I achieve, still this achievement in comparison of some other person is small.
And there's this thought of them accomplishing these amazing things and that they have a life of no stress.
That's
and
right.
They live in freedom. And
That's right. That is how. So what happened in humans that because of this mind, and mind means my thinking and my emotions, we remember stress, we accumulate stress, we anticipate stress, all in the form of these memories. And mind-body medicine is very clear about it, and it is called psycho-neuro-immuno-endocrinology. A very big name, but I will decode it. Psycho means whatever you are thinking or emoting. Neuro means brain. Immuno means immune system. Endocrinologists mean endocrine system, glands. Your thinking, your emotional experience will change your brain, that will change your immune system, that will change your endocrine system, your whole body is changed. Because it percolates into your body. And actually Candace Pert, she was a pharmacologist. She wrote a beautiful book, Molecules of Emotions. That means once you are experiencing emotions and in stress, a lot of negative emotion, it will turn into molecules. It will start changing the neurochemistry, your biochemistry. And that will slowly infiltrate each cell of your body, changing.
what is the biological process of what happens when we're experiencing stress?
Well, in stress, what happens that it goes to our specific small organ. It's an almond-shaped organ, tiny one, called amygdala. Amygdala is the organ responsible for stress and fear response. From there, it goes to hypothalamus, another small organ. Hypothalamus controls our hunger, thirst, metabolism, sex desire, temperature. Lot of metabolism. Then it goes to pituitary gland, which is the master gland, controls all the gland. And it goes to adrenal gland finally. Adrenal gland is just above the kidney. So this stress response, it is called HPA axis. It affects the whole body. So what happens? Body comes into emergency mode now. What is that emergency mode? Hunger is suspended. So you don't feel hungry. Reproductive function and sex is suspended. Pause. Digestion is suspended. So where whole energy and blood flow is going? To the brain, to the heart, to the muscles. Because you are now in fight or flight mode. And it is because of two main hormones. One is adrenaline. So your heart is pumping more and more blood and muscles are very active. And second is cortisol, which is basically steroid. So steroid temporarily mobilizes a lot of glucose from the liver and from other sources. So you have a lot of energy to deal with this stress. And also it may give you a sense of well-being. So those are the massive metabolic changes in the body. And it is wonderful because life throws unexpected things. So we need that response. Only problem is as we said that we are not only a biological being, we are a mental being. Chronic stress. And now this chronic stress gradually accumulates, changes. And what it does? It makes your amygdala, that alarm system, big and hot. So almost non-stop alarm, low intensity alarm is going on. We are sort of low emergency mode. We become hyper vigilant. We become very anxious. We become very fearful. We can't sleep. Our appetite is reduced. Our sexual function is reduced. That is one part. Second part, hippocampus. Hippocampus is the memory one. That shrinks. So that means now we are developing poor memory. We are forgetting things. New brain cells are not produced in hippocampus. Third one is prefrontal cortex, which is the seat of reason, planning, language, future, all those things, rational thought. So we could move in the world with some structure, plan, guesswork. That is also reduced in size. So control of this reason or rationality or planning part is less, so our emotions are now all over. There is no control or a poor control.
Hey everyone, it's Matt from the podcast. If you're enjoying this conversation and you want to go deeper, Soma Path offers different classes, courses, and trainings that will help you actually experience what we're talking about, and they're accessible to all. Everything can be found through the link in the description, and from time to time, we do offer free programs and trainings there. So if this is resonating with you, that would be your next step. What would be the difference between someone who, when they're experiencing stress and hunger may not be an issue, in opposed to having stress or going to eating or using something like eating or something like that as a stress response?
Right. So what happens in stress, the pleasure is reduced. Because pleasure in the life is when we are, very relaxed, enjoying things, which is the function of the vagus nerve. Because in stress, it is a sympathetic nervous system which is activated. So all these happenings are there. So once I'm not experiencing pleasure, I would like to get pleasure because I cannot live without pleasure. Otherwise, I will be very anxious or very depressed or in despair with low mood. So where we go? We go to food. We go to sometimes sex. We go to lot of entertainment because I want to stimulate to feel the pleasure. Then we go to addictions, alcohol, drugs. Because lack of pleasure during stress.
In stressful times, the body reacts to this. There's a physical reaction as well.
Yes.
Does that accumulate in our system?
It does. Because in chronic stress, there are chronic changes. So in some people who have what we call wind personality, primarily sympathetic personality, it will be mainly anxiety and panic. In people who are fire type, it will be primarily anger. In earth type, in which parasympathetic mode was dominant, it will be more freeze. So it will depend one kind of personality you got. And they will be in that mode because now it became chronic. And the problem is that now they discovered also that chronic stress leads to oxidative stress.
What does that mean?
Oxidative stress means free oxygen radicals, this is a biochemistry, is released in the system. it causes extensive damage through inflammation. Chronic inflammation. So acute stress, wonderful, saving my life. Positive stress, wonderful, I have to have it. It becomes chronic. And chronic stress lead to oxidative. Too much, they call free oxygen, which causes inflammation and extensive tissue damage. So actually, if you really look into the diseases of 21st century, many of them or most of them is a result of chronic inflammation.
I'm assuming we're speaking about organs that these are being inflamed in.
That's right. So I will give you an example. Our brain has, low intensity chronic inflammation. What will happen? Anxiety, depression, emotional lability, mental fog, poor memory, dementia, Alzheimer. So now they are saying that actually dementia and Alzheimer may be due to chronic inflammation. It goes to liver, it may be hepatitis. It goes to the heart. What will happen? Arteries will be clogged. So initially theory was that mainly cholesterol, fat clogs the artery, and that is the reason behind a stroke and heart attack. Now it is chronic inflammation.
Why certain organs over other organs?
They are general, but certain organs are more sturdy. Other organs are more vulnerable. That is why. So there will be in pancreas, it will give rise to diabetes. Then it will go into our immune system that will cause autoimmune diseases. So if you really look into 21st centuries and cancers, I forgot. So if you really look into 21st centuries diseases, depression, anxiety, and of course dementia, heart attack, strokes, high blood pressure, diabetes, autoimmune diseases, and cancers can be caused by chronic inflammation, which is the result of chronic stress.
An organ you speak about, the fascia, is that getting affected?
Invariably 100%, because fascia is the mother organ. If a child is affected, mother will be affected. This fascia covers every single millimeter of the body. Of course, yes. All organs are covered by it.
Can we attack stress ourselves through thinking? As a thought process, can we think our way out of stress in the body, like that's stored within the body?
Thinking may contribute a little bit because, mind, body are connected. So definitely people say, okay, relax in your thinking and do positive thinking and so on and so forth. That will help, but help will be very little.
So would that just be the accumulation of our stress?
That's right.
There's still stored stress now.
Because it is stored in the body. So by thinking, we may change a bit of it. But thinking is a very superficial thing. There are 6,000 thoughts or so running all the time. So even if we put, say, 3,000 positive, it will take huge number of years because problem is so deep. So we cannot deal with stress only by thinking. It is impossible. It will contribute.
Like I guess what we're kind of focusing on, it seems like really big stresses, maybe in our conditioning, like due to what we've lived and things we've experienced that were big stressful moments or something like that that may have caused some type of threat. What about little things throughout life, say that we are doing that creates little stress? And kind of what I'm referring to is, say, watching TV, listening to music, things that I mean, I've noticed in my own body watching these things that my body's reacting to these things as I'm listening or watching, and there's some type of tension being built in the body.
Yes.
How deeply is that affecting us if we're maybe doing this all the time, if we're within this?
Thing is that if you are doing all the time, it will percolate in the body. It is very well known. I mean, people who are playing the video games or who are involved in social media, ultimately it changes the brain. There are plenty of researchers. There is no doubt about it. But by thinking, we can change certain types of stress. And actually in psychology, those are called cognitive distortions or automatic negative thinking. Automatic negative thinking is that you are sending your child to a school and you are thinking, oh yeah, times are so bad, so something happened to my child. That is a distorted thinking. Or you are sitting in a mall and a friend passes by, you are looking at the friend, you want to say hello, friend doesn't pay attention, and then you are stressed out, there must be something wrong with me. Or something happened in the family and then you always blame yourself, it is because of me. So these are called automatic negative thought or cognitive distortions, and they bring stress. Or somebody got the blood test done and the blood test result is not out and they are thinking, there must be something wrong. Or doctor, didn't call, or so many things we do. Those are minor stresses because of thinking problem, and they can be corrected by cognitive behavioral therapy. But the bigger one, you cannot. They are far too deep.
I've watched sports games where, like speaking about this, where it was a very intense moment in sports games and I could not relax myself. I tried so hard this is not even, doesn't even mean anything. I'm not even involved in this. And as I'm still watching this, my stress levels are going through the roof.
Yes.
Why can I control that?
Yeah, it is very difficult because, as I said, we are not only physical being, but mental being. But gradually, the only thing which we can do if the tension is high, either we can breathe deeply or become aware of our tension. And that will bring certain detachment. But if you are involved in any sports or all those things, it will happen. Only thing is, it should not continue.
Right.
So there is no harm in enjoying a game and even stressed out because it's a question of, victory or defeat. There's no harm in that if it is temporary. Because we don't want to shun everything.
Right.
Of course, if we want to become a perfect yogi or completely tranquil that, but life is to celebrate and
Experience
it and be involved in it, but making sure it doesn't continue.
If the stress is controlling our outcomes or things we want to do.
Yeah, that becomes a problem.
So we talked about how the body is storing this stress. It's like a form of energy that's being held tight within the body.
Everything is energy.
What do we do about it?
We can do a lot. I mean, even in quite profound chronic stress, you can almost reverse it. It may leave some damage. It happened in my life that because I jumped into so many stresses, because I was that kind of person, it left some damage, in my body. But because body is resilient, because body changes almost every 7 years, and now it is very well known, your brain can change profoundly, you can almost reverse it. And reversal is again two approaches. Number one, lifestyle, and number two, practices. Because a lot of people just want to practice and they say they will reverse it. No, it won't happen. Stress was the result of lifestyle. and stress can be reversed, its effect on our body and brain through lifestyle changes. Plus, a comprehensive practice which we can do, something with the body, some kind of yoga or movement or tai chi or pilates, whatever we want, swimming, diving, there are hundreds of things. And then something to do with the breathing, because breathing is intimately connected with stress. So slow, deep breathing is very simple. You can do it 2-3 times in a day, 5 to 10 minutes, it will have profound effect. If you are keen to go into meditation, meditation is another way. It may be prayer, or it may be even listening, meditative tapes or music or chanting. So lifestyle and practice combinedly.
When would you direct somebody into maybe seeking professional help for stress?
I think there is a point where person is not able to control. It became now an illness. Because there are two phases of it. One is that you are adapting to it. Still you are suffering, still there are problems, but you are able to function. You are able to function, you are able to get to your job and still maintain your income and the family and children. But once it becomes illness, means profound anxiety and panic attacks, or it turns into eating disorder, or it becomes actually a depression. And that is where there is no harm in taking professional help, because an intensive treatment is needed. And idea is short term, because you do short term, and once you are recuperating, you are adapting to your normal functional work, then you can withdraw for it.
It's important to not just end there. Like myself, I needed to seek professional help years ago, just to get into my daily life again. Once I was in my daily life, it's very easy to fall back into old patterns.
Yes.
So we need that a little bit more.
Yes.
And that's where yoga, or like even if we never needed the professional help, we need some type of practice to reduce the stress in our body.
Exactly. We have to create a shield around us, because outer world is not going to be less turbulent. In fact, it will be more and more turbulent, because we are going to do more and more things as digital technology is growing so fast.
Well, that's the other thing I wanted to ask you about, because we went so quickly from, I think even when I was a kid in the 80s and early 90s, to very much into what was around me, besides like some news and stuff like that you would see on the TV. But it was very much what was physically around me that would cause my stress, especially as a kid.
Right.
But nowadays, the kids have these news and everything in the palm of their hands that they're seeing on a daily basis.
Yes.
So what is that doing to our biology there?
Yeah, because our body is still, living in Stone Age or somewhere, thousands and thousands of years. There is not much evolution in the body. There is a change in the body. But for the last 72,000 years, so there is nothing dramatic change. But our mind changed radically in last 150 years. And in last 40 years, even dramatic leap, because in 1990s came the computers. You could access to the computer and emails and then cell phone, and now AI. So there is a profound mind-body dichotomy. We are carrying this old body belonging to 70,000 years, 72,000 years, and mind is looking for 23rd century, 24th century. And that is where the whole stress is. They are not in harmony.
Are we at some type of peak in humanity when it comes to this? Like, is there or a fork in the road when it comes to how we are going to deal with stress?
Yes, but not yet. Not yet, because we are in the period of transition. I don't think we even understand, the whole transition, a crisis. And to tell you, it's nothing negative. Because any big, beautiful evolutionary change happens through crises and radical transition. And we are going through it. And that is the cognitive crisis, cognitive transition. Because whatever is happening in outside world in terms of science and technology is extension of my mind. So mind is just growing exponentially. But still we don't understand properly. That is why a lot of people are not ready to change. It will go forward for a few more decades and then change will come.
How do you see that helping us out? I guess with AI and that thing that's becoming really relevant now, there's a lot of stress and worry about how deep that could go with people. And like you said, there's always two sides to one thing. I mean, there's a whole, there's a negative and a positive side.
Exactly.
But is AI going to get to a point where it helps us with stress, do you feel?
It will. Because fundamentally, we are not limited beings. We are something so extraordinarily marvelous. It's my personal experience. But what happens? We fall in the trap of these, new technology, and we just absorb them completely and they will harm us. But we will discover, and we are already discovering in some sectors. In Australia, they banned social media below the age of 16 years. And other countries are thinking. Because that is how we work. We just take everything and then discover, no, I don't want because it is harming me. Think of, pharma, the various chemicals, various medicines. So many of them are banned because they were profoundly harmful. That is what is going to happen. That eventually we are going to be the master. We are the master. And all other technology, they will help us. That is what happened in the past. Because as I said, humanity's future is not dark.
It's a part of us. We're all a part of what we're experiencing.
Exactly. And it is another evolutionary step. We have to go far, far in future.
What would you, I guess, suggest to someone now that maybe doesn't have a practice or doesn't have anything, and they're starting to be aware of the stress that's building up in their body? What would you suggest for them first?
I think again lifestyle. Because, if I have to make changes, of course I can do certain practices, as I mentioned, going for a walk or taking swimming or doing yoga or walk, all those kind of things. But lifestyle, a lifestyle. And what is the meaning of lifestyle? Again, 7 or 8 points, sleep. Most important.
Number one is sleep.
Number one.
So that's the first thing we can pretty much look at is...
Absolutely.
Okay.
The reason being that in the night, my brain detoxify itself, repair itself, heal itself. Rejuvenation, growth, everything happens. Number one, sleep.
Start making adequate sleep.
Yes.
Every night.
Every night. Sometimes if we can't sleep, then during the day I can have a little nap, 10 minutes to 20 minutes. But making sure sleep, number one. And number two comes food. So making sure that a healthy, nourishing food, there is no harm in sometimes eating junk food. Why not? I want to celebrate everything. But
So say an 80-20 rule, 80%.
Exactly.
And you can go with something basic like that.
Yeah, because I don't want to just withdraw and, I will resent it. And third is exercise, because body and brain means movement. And if you really look into stress part or even aging part, if I'm moving, my physical body is moving, my brain is creating new cells. All body is creating new cells because there is a fresh blood flow. So, and exercise can be cumulative. If I don't have time for 30 minutes, I can do 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes.
Right.
A total of roughly 150 minutes a week, 30 minutes a day, and total in 1 week, 150 minutes. And then, of course, I don't want to isolate myself because sometimes in stress we just withdraw and we are glued to our television or computer. Not a good idea. Relationship is vital. There is such a long study done, concluded recently. It is 75 years long study or something like that. And their conclusion was that most happy and long living people had one thing: social relationship. Loneliness is like smoking 20 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
So that is where relationship.
What would fall into the relationship, like a relationship with a spouse or even more?
I mean, there is more to it, but immediate family is of vital importance because we live with them.
So if a child who's maybe we may know of this has maybe a little bit of depression or something, it's kind of connecting with them.
Yes.
And starting that relationship there.
That's right. Emotionally vibrant relationship, commitment and care. We are taking care of them. And after this work, there has to be some meaningful work in the day. Sometimes our main work can be very exhausting because we have to work because I have to get money.
Which will reduce stress.
Yeah. I mean, work will reduce stress.
But the money, like the fact that it's helping us survive.
That's right.
And if we don't have work and we're not making money, that's another stress.
High stress.
Yeah.
So, but finding a meaningful work also is a very good idea. So those are the initial 5. And of course, as I mentioned, our home, if we could, modify our home. So when we enter the home, it is a welcoming place rather than messy, disorganized, and we will stress out.
Do you think that reflects our mind sometimes? I often wonder that. If our home reflects our mind. So if we have a messy home, maybe we have a messy mind.
Yeah. Actually, that is quite often it happens. That is why if we organize our home, if it stresses us, some people, they are not stressed out.
Yeah.
There is a messy home, who cares? We don't mind because children are playing, they threw things here and there.
Sure.
If I'm comfortable with it. If it stresses out, we have to do something about it.
Okay, well, I think we can end our podcast here. I think we kind of covered quite a bit. And I'm sure there's going to be other topics within this stress that we'll eventually get into with and open up a little bit more with some other podcasts and go in deeper to them in the future.
Yeah.
But I think this was a great start in this topic. And thank you so much for sharing this with us, Dr. Jivasu.
Thank you, Matt.
To learn more about our teachings, courses, and community, visit somapath.org.